I'm Sarah Weiler, founder of Contemporary Education, and I'm going to talk about one of the 5 C's of contemporary education that I propose in shifting how we understand school culture from the way it is today, largely founded upon 5 old basics of education: reproduction, obedience, competition, fragmentation, and tolerance, to 5 new principles for shifting the school culture of mainstream teaching and learning to the 5 C's of contemporary education: collaboration, connection, caring, critique, creativity. And today I'd like to talk about shifting from a reproductive model to a creative model of schooling. And that has to do with the way that we relate to knowledge as human beings. So instead of structuring schools such that students learn concepts as a representation, like this is the name of something, this is its definition, once you've learned that and memorized it, now apply that to reproduce it in the world, they're not reasoning through all the multiple understandings and multidimensionality of a concept and how a concept relates to other concepts and how we use those concepts in the judgments we make in our decision making in life. So take the concept, for instance, of democracy, let's say. So understanding how the concept of democracy evolved from the ancient Greek conception throughout the ages, the Enlightenment conception, and how we think about democracy today. Democracy in one country and how it's viewed in another country, how different theorists have thought about and understood the concept of democracy. How does democracy relate to, different forms of government, different economic systems? All of these questions that the students, they need to reason through with the guidance of the teacher in order for them to really understand what democracy is and then build upon that concept, using that concept as a tool in further formulations of democracy, and very importantly in how they use it as a tool in decision making when they're faced with a concrete situation in the real world, problem solving and thinking about innovative solutions to a problem. How can they use their conception of democracy to face that situation? So let's say that there's an important decision that needs to be made within a school. How could the student body, along with the teachers and administrators, go about making that decision for the school democratically? What would that look like? How would different models and ideas and theories of democracy influence or inform how students would want to position themselves related to this real life situation of problem solving a specific issue within a school democratically? So that's what I'm talking about when I say shifting from reproduction to a creative model in relation to knowledge. So right now, students learn a concept like democracy, and the end game is know the word, know the concept, rattle off a definition of the concept, and that's it. That's the end. The reproduction of knowledge is the end rather than the means. I propose that we need to shift school culture so that concepts and curricular contents are seen as tools or the means for problem solving in the world, for further innovating and evolving and transforming concepts, seeing them as something that are not static and fixed, but that are dynamic and are always changing. If we look through history, how we have understood different things over time has changed as human beings, as all of humanity. I mean, at one time, slavery was a legal institution in many places in the world. There, for sure, were always abolitionists, but in terms of shifting how we see, what's our mindset and our understanding towards certain institutions and the concepts that inform those institutions and underpin those institutions, those things change over time. We can see that with judgments at Supreme Court level in a country. I mean, the judges are always reinterpreting, reevaluating, reflecting upon the Constitution and this real life situation that they're facing. So how does the Constitution and their understanding of it inform their decision making, and how does their decision making dialogue with what came before and what they propose to come after? So this is what I think needs to happen in schools. We need to look at concepts and curricular content as something that we build upon, like we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and we learn all of that knowledge and those concepts that theorists and thinkers have given to us as a cultural inheritance. But we don't stop there, thinking that we just need to be able to reproduce that. We need to use it as a tool to build upon. So that's what I believe when I'm talking about creativity. It's not creativity out of a void, out of an emptiness, out of nothing. It's creativity based on a wealth of knowledge, a repertoire of tools to be able to use, and knowing how to use them and when to use them in an informed and intentional and meaningful way. So shifting from a reproductive relationship to knowledge to a creative relationship to a building relationship with knowledge, I think this can transform and revolutionize how we see schooling in the 21st century. This discussion of shifting school cultures from a reproductive, knowledge-based model to a creative based model in relation to knowledge, in essence, is most fundamentally a question of teaching children what to think in schools or teaching them how to think. A reproductive model teaches students what to think. These are the contents, these are the learning objectives, this is what you need to memorize, this is what you need to reproduce. That is teaching students what to think, and that can be very dangerous. That can be a recipe for indoctrination, and it treats knowledge as dogmatic rather than knowledge as a tool and knowledge as something that we can, as a tool, use to think for ourselves and make meaningful decisions for ourselves, and as a collaborative, as a collective, as a group, as a community, as a society. So we need to shift to this creative production of knowledge mindset and reshape, redesign our schools accordingly, so that instead of teaching students what to think, we're teaching them how to think. That's my take on it. I would love to know if you agree, disagree, partially disagree, and what your reasons are. So please join me and others in a dialogue about contemporary education at contemporaryeducation.com. Thanks.